everybody, welcome back to my channel Learn with Virali. I'm Virali, your guide on this PMP adventure. If you are new to my channel, I'm Virali, a certified PMP professional helping people to pass their PMP exams on the very first try. So if you are not subscribed to my channel yet, please make sure to subscribe as it helps me to create more such kind of videos and offer help to the community. Most PMP exam takers fail not because they don't know the content, but because they don't understand how PMI thinks. So in today's video, I'll break down 10 tricky scenario questions for you to understand and answer them like a certified project manager. So let's get started. So let's look at the first question. It says a stakeholder is unhappy with the outcome of a recent sprint review. What should you do first? Please identify the keyword first here as it helps us to understand how should you approach your answer. Options are escalate to the sponsor, feedback, replace the team member or pause the sprint. Now, given this scenario, PMI wants you to think and understand why is the stakeholder unhappy. So in this case, as a project manager who is certified by PMI, always will make sure as a first step to understand the feedback before taking any action. So the correct answer here would be to review the stakeholders' feedback, understand what is it in a negative manner listed there or a constructive feedback given by the stakeholder, making sure that you take necessary action and eliminate whatever has been mentioned by the stakeholder just so that it is a successful release next time. Question number 2 says your team reports that the user stories lack acceptance criteria. What should you do as a project manager? Options are delay the sprint, ask the sponsor to clarify, collaborate with the product owner, or option number D is assign a developer to define it. Remember, PMI promotes collaboration within the team or within different roles. So it's the product owner's responsibility to define the acceptance criteria with the input coming in from the development team. So the correct answer here would be to collaborate with the product owner and understand what would be the acceptance criteria. Delaying the sprint is not going to solve this problem. Asking the sponsor to clarify this is either a bad choice that you would make, given the sponsor wouldn't know anything that is going on as a part of the technicality that the developer is asking. So sponsor wouldn't be able to clarify things up if he or she is non-technical. So that's not a correct answer that we should choose here. Option D says assign a developer to define it. The developer will take different cases in consideration which may or may not be appropriate given the project's direction. So the correct answer here would definitely be to collaborate with the product owner and understand or clarify the acceptance criteria. Question number 3 says the customer insists on a change that could impact the schedule. So what should you do first? Update the project schedule, reject the change, or evaluate the impact, or escalate to the steering committee. Now understand that whenever any person on the team, may be the stakeholder, may be the customer, or may be any client who is a part of this particular project requests a change, the very first action that a project manager should take who has been certified by PMI would be to evaluate the impact of this particular change that has been requested. So without evaluation or without analyzing the impact, you would not be able to take the necessary steps ahead for reaching the finish line for this particular sprint. So if you don't understand what is the impact that this particular change is going to cause, you won't be able to set a new schedule, or you won't be able to understand whether you reject or accept the change, or even if you need to escalate it to the steering committee, you would need to have a proper analysis that okay, change that has been requested may cause changes to A, B, C, D tasks which are associated with this project. So always as a part of PMI's project manager or how PMI thinks this particular scenario, understand that as a part of the first step, you always need to evaluate the impact or analyze the impact of different changes that has been requested before taking any necessary action. So the correct option or the answer choice here has to be evaluate the impact. 4 says a team member is underperforming and missing deadlines. So, what should be your first action as a project manager? Now, understand PMI encourages interpersonal communication and problem resolution at the team level first. So, in this case, as a project manager, you should set up a separate meeting with the team member who is underperforming or even missing deadlines to understand what's going on. May be case that he or she might be having some personal issues or going through some family matters, or at any stage it is very important for you as a project manager to understand the team dynamics, what's going on with everybody has to be equally motivated to work on the project. So it's the project manager's responsibility to encourage interpersonal communication, and that's where the correct answer over here has to be discussed privately first to understand the issue rather than directly going ahead and taking actions like replacing them or maybe escalating it further to the HR or documenting everything for the HR to take on the discussion from here. So the correct answer over here has to be first for you as a project manager to go ahead and set up a private meeting with this particular team member to understand the issue. Question number 5. Mid-project, the sponsor changes the project scope significantly. So what should you do here as a project manager? Options are accept changes, follow change control process, pause the project, or update the WBS directly. Now understand, PMI requires formal change control process like formal change management process to maintain control over different things like scope, time, and cost. So you as a project manager should follow a set procedure or a process to allow this change to be reflected or to be taken into impact given the current sprint. So in this case, we need to go ahead and follow the change control process as a part of this particular project, which has been the main derivative suggested by PMI. Whenever somebody requests a change, it cannot be accepted directly, or you cannot pause the project because somebody has requested the change, or you should not go ahead and directly take an action by updating the WBS without getting a formal acceptance of the request that for this particular change. So the correct answer over here has to be follow the change control process. Question number 6. During the sprint planning, a developer wants to change the definition of done. So what is the best course of action over here on your part as a project manager? Options are update it immediately, discuss this with the Scrum Master, bring it up in retrospective, or review it with the team. So now this is a little bit tricky situation over here, but understanding PMI's principles, we know that team collaboration is definitely very essential aspect whenever we are dealing with any agile project. So definition of done should always be team owned and always be agreed on by the entire team. So if the developer wants to change the definition of done in this case, then it has to be agreed upon while discussing or reviewing it with the team members. So the correct answer over here has to be option D, because you cannot take the action directly as a project manager by updating it immediately just because one of the developer has suggested the change for definition of done, or if you discuss it with the Scrum Master again, it has to be reviewed and agreed upon by the team members. So not only discussing with the Scrum Master would be a matter here. And option C is to bring it up in retrospective. Retrospective happens at the end of the sprint once the release is done. So that would definitely be not the case whenever you are planning the sprint and things come up during that sprint planning process. Question number 7. A key stakeholder asks for updates daily, disrupting the team. So, what should you do as a project manager? Now, remember, effective stakeholder engagement includes managing expectations and setting clear communication plans. So, in this case, you as a project manager has to set up a clear communication plan by setting up different boundaries and agreeing onto a reporting frequency, understanding that this is not going to impact the team performance on the daily basis, since here in this scenario the stakeholder is requesting for the status update daily. So you as a project manager should have a plan in mind whenever you are starting this project, or even through the project has been started. If this kind of situation comes up, you need to understand how to take an action accordingly, just so that the performance isn't hampered or the quality isn't hampered in this case, just because you are satisfying the needs of a particular stakeholder. So if you send daily emails would not do the case in case if the stakeholder has asked for different types of reports. Escalating the issue would not help in this situation, since this is going to be the key stakeholder for this particular project. Or even if you ignore the request also, that might not be the correct answer or the choice here, given this is a key stakeholder, or we can call this as a primary stakeholder who needs to be satisfied in terms of different requirements that they would have for this particular project. So the correct answer over here has to be setting boundaries and agreeing on a reporting frequency. You are asked to deliver a new module in half the planned time. So what should you do first as a project manager? Crash the schedule, ask for more resources, analyze the impact and consult the team, or accept the timeline. So understand the PMI principle that you should apply over here, which is PMI encourages the impact analysis before committing to any scope or schedule changes. So in this case, if you crash the schedule without analyzing how much time does it actually take to release this new module which has been requested, it won't be allowing, or it won't be a good option for you to take as a project manager given the scenario. Or asking for more resources would only be feasible if you know how many resources are needed and what would each of them do in this situation, developing this new module. Or accepting the timeline is simply saying that, okay, we'll do it, but being a project manager, your responsibility is to understand how much time will it take in case if this new module has to be delivered in half the time that was planned out on. So the correct answer over here, according to PMI, has to be to analyze the impact and consult with the team members. Question number 9. In a predictive project, the client wants to skip quality checks to just save time. So what is your response as a project manager? Options are agree if it helps the deadline. Option B, follow the quality management plan. Option C, let the team decide. And option D is delay the delivery. Now, the PMI principle that has to be applied over here, given this is a traditional project or follows the traditional approach towards the project management, PMI stresses adherence to predefined process and quality standards. So you as a project manager should always make sure to respond, allowing to follow the necessary process given the state of the project. So here you as a project manager should follow the quality management plan without changing anything other than following the plan. That is, you agree it if it helps to reach the deadline. That is like following the shortest path, but it might have different obstacles on it. Or even if you allow the team to decide, then it won't be any need to have you as a project manager on the team. So definitely a big no towards option C. And option D is delay the delivery. Now, if skipping the quality checks is meant to save time, you cannot delay the delivery, definitely. So the correct answer over here has to be follow the quality management plan. Okay. You identify a risk that could derail a critical milestone. So what should you do first as a project manager? Raise a change request, or inform the team, or implement risk response, or update the risk register and analyze. Now, PMI emphasizes documentation and analysis before acting or taking any action towards the risks, understanding different changes that they might cause to the project. So, option A says raise a change request. Raising a change request would be feasible, definitely, but you need to first analyze the impact that this particular risk may have. So it's not the right option choice over here. Second is to inform the team. Informing the team is simply like making them aware, hey, cyclone is coming, but what would be the impact? So that's not the right option choice here. Option C is implement risk response. Without analyzing the impact that this risk may have, how would you implement the response strategy? So correct answer over here has to be update the risk register and analyze the change given the current scenario. Also, if you have enjoyed watching this video and if you have found it useful, please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. In the description below, you would be finding a PDF towards this particular set of 10 questions that we discussed for you to solve before coming to this particular analysis or the solution that I have presented. You may also comment down PMP Ready and I'll send you a free question list of 20 different questions along with the answers associated for you to solve and get ready for your PMP exam. Follow for more tips. Thank you.